You are being watched. Right now, at the edge of your firelight, something is waiting. It is not attacking. It is not fleeing either. It is just watching, patient, calculating whether it is safer near you than away from you. For most of human history, this wasn't a metaphor. This was every single night for tens of thousands of years. What if the animals you now trust most were never tamed by force at all? What if they invited themselves in? Let's go back roughly 20,000 to 40,000 years, to the last ice age. Your ancestors are living in small bands, hunting large game, and leaving behind something new in human history. Garbage, bones, scraps, fat, waste, all piled at the edge of camp. And out in the dark tree line, wolves are watching that pile. Here is the part most people get wrong. Nobody captured a wolf pup and raised it into a dog. That story is mostly myth. The real process was slower, colder, and stranger. Biologist Raymond Coppinger proposed something called the Self-Domestication Hypothesis. The idea is simple. The boldest wolves, the ones with slightly less fear of humans, started scavenging that garbage pile. The most nervous wolves stayed away and starved. The calmest wolves ate well and had more pups. Generation after generation, without a single human ever choosing to breed anything, the wolves were domesticating themselves just by tolerating you. Sounds unbelievable. It has been tested. In the 1950s, Soviet geneticist Dmitry Belyaev ran an experiment on silver foxes. He didn't select for friendliness, he selected only for one trait: which foxes stayed calm around a human hand. Within a few generations, something bizarre happened. The calm foxes didn't just act tame, their ears started flopping, their tails began to curl, some grew white patches of fur. Traits nobody was breeding for showed up automatically, tied to the same genes that controlled fear and stress. Tameness, it turns out, drags a whole biological package along with it. That is likely what happened to wolves, just spread across thousands of years instead of a lab. So picture the actual scene. It's dusk, orange light fading over a river valley. Your ancestors are gathered around a fire, gutting the day's kill. At the tree line, a handful of wolves sit low, ears forward, not growling, just waiting for scraps to be tossed their way. One wolf edges closer than the others ever dared. Nobody calls it over, nobody feeds it by hand. It simply calculates that the risk is worth the reward, and it stays a little closer than it did the night before. We have proof this actually happened. At a site called Bonn-Oberkassel in Germany, archaeologists found a human grave over 14,000 years old containing the remains of a young dog, deliberately buried alongside two people, seemingly cared for through an illness before it died. That is not a wild animal. That is a member of the family. And in 2020, a huge genetic study led by geneticist Gregor Larson analyzed ancient dog DNA from across Europe and Asia. It found that dogs had already split from wolves and diversified into distinct lineages by around 11,000 years ago, meaning the process of becoming dog started long before that, deep in the Ice Age, in multiple populations, possibly more than once. Here is the counterintuitive twist. You did not domesticate the wolf. The wolf domesticated itself, using you as the opportunity. Humans didn't design the dog. Evolution did, and humans simply became the environment it adapted to. And once that door was open, it didn't stop with wolves. In the hills of what is now Iran and Iraq, communities began managing wild goats and sheep, keeping the calmest animals close and slowly shaping entire species around human settlements. Wild aurochs became cattle. Wild boar became pigs. Each time, the same quiet filter was at work. The animals least afraid of you were the ones who survived to reproduce near you. Now think about your dog, sleeping at the foot of your bed tonight, or the one you see on your walk tomorrow. That animal is descended from a wolf that made a bet thousands of generations ago that a human campfire was safer than the forest. Every wag of the tail, every head resting on your knee, is the final payoff of that bet. You didn't tame the wild. The wild kept choosing to move closer to you, one generation at a time, until it wasn't wild anymore. So the next time you feel eyes on you in the dark, and you realize it's just your dog, watching you from across the room, remember what that gaze actually is. It's not obedience. It's an ancient negotiation, still being carried out, one that began the moment your ancestors sat by a fire and let something wild sit a little closer than it should have. This is just one thread in a much bigger story. Every animal around you right now, every domesticated species on the planet is carrying some version of this same quiet negotiation, playing out in different forests, different valleys, different centuries. History is full of these turning points, moments where something small and ordinary quietly reshaped everything, and most people never even hear about them. If you want to keep uncovering stories like this one, subscribe. There are hidden histories out there stranger than fiction, and I'm digging up the next one right now.